This is an Eternus 6 Haze, and we're going to analyze how they dominated this rank match. We're just going to try go over the highlights of this match and skip some of the filler. Nice little wall tech there. And yeah, so Haze definitely doesn't want to play too aggressively right now. She's obviously quite weak early game. She doesn't want to engage with the Grey Talon too much early game, just wants to stay back and confirm those souls. But Grey Talon is going to get a lot of poke with that charged shot on her. So it's going to be pretty difficult to keep up lane pressure. It's a nice sleep dagger, and he's going to go in. Playing pretty aggressively there. Does take a little bit of tower damage as well. And I don't know if that was really the right play to do. Maybe you should have just focused on confirming souls and maybe get a little bit of fixation damage on her. But high risk, high reward. Because obviously, since he got the heavy melee off, the Grey Talon has to play a little bit further back. Gives a lot more lane control to the Haze now. And you can see the Haze is very far pushed up. And now the Grey Talon is using a 2. But a good sleep dagger puts an end to that. And Haze is obviously doing a very good job of dodging these charged shots that the Grey Talon is throwing at her. I'm going to see Haze pick up healing right. It seems like she's going for a lot of early healing items. She definitely wants to keep her sustain up. Last thing she wants to do is have to go back, and we see her also pick up that camp as well. She gets tagged by that charged shot, and again, it's just the poke from the Grey Talon is just so annoying. He probably he probably knows this, and that's why he's buying so many healing items to start with. That was a really nice trap placement by the Grey Talon, because he's closed off this area of the map, and he's basically forcing the Haze to go through this stairway. And so all he has to really do is stand behind this wall and get his charge shot ready, and just, it's a much easier target to hit. And as you can see, he actually managed to land a charge shot on him. And so we're just going to continue to farm behind these walls.
I'll slip right through them.
Pushing up, and now he notices the Kelvin is trying to gank him. And that Kelvin's doing a decent bit of damage. Unfortunately, he misses the sleep dagger. He's been forced to back up a lot here. He's finally going to pick up rapid shots, so he should be able to be a little bit more of a threat in lane now. Now he's unlocked his ult. He's definitely a much bigger threat right now. He pops the healing right. And a lot of people don't know this, but with healing right, if you get hit, it cancels the healing right. So you can see he's trying to play very defensively there. He does not want to get hit. He wants that healing right to use its full effect to get as much healing as he can. Now we're going to see him do the jungle camps as well, just in between the waves. Unfortunately, he's probably going to miss maybe one trooper for that. But at the end of the day, I think in terms of the economy, I think it actually probably was the right call. I think he did end up making more money. Now the McGinnis is pushing up on him as well, so he's just going to back off. He got the trooper wave. He doesn't have to really do much. He can just back off and go do these farms again. The Moen crew is rotated onto the Haze's lane to try and help defend that tower. And Haze is finally going to come back and try and help. Again, the Grey Talon uses trap to force the Haze into a certain direction. But the Haze actually gets trapped in it. Unfortunately, though, well, I guess fortunately, the Grey Talon couldn't land the charge shot. And I think really something I'm noticing just watching this replay is how efficient this Haze is at going around and farming and just in between the waves. He really makes full use of just everything on the map. Just any chance he can get. He's really trying to maximize the amount of souls he can get. We've now got bullet lifesteal, so Haze is definitely feeling a lot more confident to go up and try and be a bit more aggressive. But unfortunately, the pocket comes and rotates. He gets hit by the Grey Talon's ult, and he will go down here. We saw the Haze consider going and helping in that team fight, but they decide they're probably not strong enough to really make a difference, so they're going to go and farm instead. Again, he is missing a couple troopers here and there, but in terms of the economy, I think he is still coming out on top. I guess if you look at it like this, a tier 2 camp at 10 minutes is worth like basically 3 troops, which is just a little bit under a wave. So if you miss like 1 troop, it's still not the worst. Obviously, the camps aren't going anywhere, so you would just rather get the troopers first. But, now he's going to do these sinner sacrifices as well. Pretty much perfectly on cue as well. It is quite interesting. He's definitely not afraid of missing like a single trooper as long as it nets him more profits in the long run. Now we're going to see the Kelvin and the pocket rotate onto that lane. He gets hit by the Grey Talon's ult. He's going to be able to take out the Kelvin. Now he has to deal with the pocket. He ults. Managed to get a huge stack on him. Gets the kill. And that Grey Talon's going to be forced to back off. But Haze also probably doesn't want to getting any more engagements. He probably just wants to back off now. Honestly, pretty ballsy by the Haze. It is quite a smart play, though. He can just use his billet lifesteal to just build it up while also farming. So it's kind of a multi-purpose thing. And the Moan crew actually does go down on that lane. So they are forced to back off a little bit. But that just leaves Haze more time to go and farm. He does pick up Tesla bullets to, I guess, help with his farm. But honestly, in my opinion, that's not really an amazing item to buy on Haze for farming, because she just doesn't really gain much from something like Tesla bullets. Unlike someone like Seven, who is like a spirit-based person. I mean, Haze is much more bullet, well, he's basically fully bullet-based. It doesn't really seem like a great choice to go for Tesla bullets right now. Especially because Haze's DPS is just so high anyway. I mean, you can see, like, Tesla bullets really isn't doing much damage to the troopers. But, I mean, you know, at the end of the day, this is one of the best players in the world. They probably know what they're doing. Now he's going to start to rotate onto yellow. Uses the jump pad. Managed to catch out the pocket. Unfortunately, doesn't hit too many of his shots. The pocket's using that car very well as a defense. He smoke bombs up and managed to catch the pocket while he's farming, but unfortunately the pocket gets cubed by the viscous. And now he's in a 2v1, and it's going to be pretty difficult for this Haze to get away. He manages to stun the viscous. Gonna try and use the sleep dagger, but unfortunately they managed to get him. And just to rewind it is gonna feel like this Haze is getting absolutely teamed up on. There's 4 players on him. He's getting absolutely destroyed. But it does actually mean that his teammates are in a 3v2 against the Mirage and Kelvin, and they're going to be able to take this Walker because of it. So it's not really the worst death for the Haze here. Going to try and get some pressure on this Guardian here. Unfortunately, he gets hit by the ult of the Grey Talon. Now the Mirage is trying to hurt him as well. He's going to decide to back out of this engagement. And instead, he's going to try and gank this this Viscous and the McGinnis. Unfortunately, he's hit by the Lady Geist ult there. And I'll go and replay that quickly. And so what happens is the Lady Geist actually drops down, uses her 2. We'll speed it up a bit. Uses her 2 and then uses 2 charge shots to get that Haze. It was a pretty good idea by the Haze trying to gank the McGinnis and Viscous, but unfortunately she just didn't account for the fact that the Grey Talon was still on her tail. By the way, a quick note, I don't know why, but I keep getting Grey Talon and Lady Geist mixed up. So I'm sorry about that. If I say it again in the recording, just know I mean Grey Talon. I don't know what's wrong with me. Now we're going to see a little bit of a team fight here. Trying to get damage off on that Grey Talon, but unfortunately the charge shot just does so much damage. He's going to have to go back a bit. The Viscous is also being extremely aggressive. He manages to sleep dagger him. Moan Crew with an incredible ult there manages to secure the kill. Really good team kill there, and they forced the Mirage and Grey Talon to head back. But again, just the poke on the Grey Talon is just insane. Absolutely insane. And they should be able to get this tower here, even though he's taking massive damage from the Grey Talon. Especially after this buff, Grey Talon is just such a menace. And he's going to have to head a bit back. And yeah, I doubt he's going to go back to base fully, but he is going to have to play a bit more defensively while he's on a little bit less health. And never mind, he is going all the way back to base. And that was the quickest buy I've ever seen in my life. He picks up Lucky Shot, goes into smoke bomb mode, sees their entire team there, decides not to engage. Pretty smart, pretty smart. Definitely don't want to engage in a 6v1. And you can see literally their entire team is on that yellow line right there. So they definitely do not want to engage. And they're probably going to go do mid-boss. And yeah, they are doing mid-boss right now. And Haze really can't do anything to stop this. I mean, the only person that can is the Abrams, but I don't believe Abrams is going to make it in time. Really amazing ult by the Kelvin there. I feel like I have to replay that because that was just a really great play by the Kelvin there. So the Kelvin knows that the Abrams ult is probably going to be the only thing that's going to allow them to steal this mid-boss here. He's got his ult ready, and we're going to see what happens here in just a moment. We're going to see it goes off, and we're going to see the Abrams is coming in. Kelvin notices it, pops his ult, freezes the rejuvenator, lets Abrams use his ability on the shelter, undoes the ult, and they manage to get the rejuvenator. Really well played. Obviously, the Haze, you also saw the Haze jumps in, tries to use her ultimate, but it doesn't really end up doing anything because, you know, there's 6 of them. there's no stack on any of them. It's just, it was a really desperate attempt, but, you know, what can you do, really? We're going to see that the Haze's team is going to be forced to play a little bit more defensive here because, obviously, the other team has rejuve buff. They really don't want to push too far here. Definitely don't want to push the troopers, except, I mean, I'm watching and everyone is pretty much pushing the troopers, but it's quite funny. I mean, they're not going past the midway point, right? They're trying to push the waves so that the enemy team isn't going to be able to go into their base and really just harass them. But they definitely don't want to push up too far anyway. Like, even where the Haze is right now is a little bit risky. Like, if we look at their map, he really can't see where they all are. So, if they do decide to gank him, he probably would be dead here. But it seems like the enemy team isn't really trying to push objectives right now. They're actually running the soul urn, trying to extend their soul lead, which is kind of an interesting play. I feel like when you have rejuve, the priority probably should be to push objectives. You're going to see the McGinnis there back off a little bit. They really don't want to take any fights right now, especially not with a rejuve buff. They just want to wait it out. Kelvin's going to follow the Haze up here. It seems like he didn't even notice her, actually. Haze is just going to try and do some damage from the flank here. Unfortunately, it's probably not the best move. The Mirage ults on top of her. And this is a pretty bad spot for the Haze right now. She tries to ult, but, you know, unfortunately, the entire team pretty much rotated on top of her and just absolutely destroyed her. But you know, it wasn't the worst death. It wasn't the worst death because it definitely did take a little bit of the pressure off of the lane. But unfortunately, at the end of the day, it's kind of all for naught because, you know, they're gonna take. I mean, yeah, they're gonna take this lane either way. Kelvin was probably the worst perspective to go on, to be honest, but they're going to take the wave and they're going to manage to push into the base either way. So it didn't really end up mattering that the Haze kind of did this noble sacrifice. It was kind of wasted. And so at this point, you know, they've got the patron now. They're on to the weakened patron. This really doesn't look good. He manages to kill the Viscus. The other team's actually lost their rejuve buff now, so they are able to be a bit more aggressive here and push them out of their base. But honestly, this game is looking pretty bleak for Haze's team right now. I mean, they're 20k souls behind, and it's just not looking good at all. Manages to absolutely assassinate that McGinnis. Haze is really fully online right now. And now Haze's team is really going to look to try and pick a good team fight because really, I think their only chance of winning is to pick a good team fight, get mid boss, and try and make a big push. Otherwise, they are probably going to lose this game. And so if we look at the map right now, you can see that the Sapphire team, or whatever you want to call it, the Sapphire team is very, like, spread out. You got the Mirage here pushing this lane. You got Pocket here pushing this one. Whereas the Amber team is very much like, you got 3 players here. You got the Abrams here, Ivy here. They're much more grouped up and ready for a team fight. And we'll see how this plays out. Everyone is sort of rotating over to here. They know that this is going to be a big team fight. I'm actually just going to go into free camera here because it is just so chaotic. And we're going to see what happens here. The Haze comes in it. McGinnis pops her ult. And I actually feel like I need to go even slower. Haze just instantly pops her ult. I think it was a little bit early to pop that ult. She is going to manage to get that Grey Talon. Ooh, not quite, actually. She manages to get the McGinnis. Probably a little bit of a premature ult there. She also manages to get the Grey Talon as well. Now the Kelvin's being ulted by the Moen Krill, and Haze manages to pick up that kill as well. And Haze is just doing so much damage now. She slides, gets that infinite ammo, manages to absolutely shred that that Mirage. Now it's the Pocket's turn. He's actually managing to do pretty well here. He's going to get a little bit of AoE damage with that as well. He actually... Oh, he does well with his teleport. But unfortunately, he gets sleep daggered by the Haze. Now the Haze is going to use a little bit of tech there. Sliding down to get that infinite ammo. And this Pocket just... There's no way he's going to be able to escape. He's just 100% trapped there. The Moen Crew is so close to death. But fortunately, the Haze manages to get him before he can damage the Moen Krill. And that is literally a team wipe. The entire team got wiped. The Moen Krill managed to get the Viscus as well. Just before almost dying. And, I mean, all of... In what? The space of, what, 20 seconds? Their entire team is dead. The entire game has flipped over. You know, we'll see here. They're going to go and do mid-boss now, obviously. And the entire game is just flipped over. And this is why I love Deadlock so much. Even if you feel like the game is just fully over and lost, one good team fight can completely change the entire game. And they're actually going to push up these waves. which is pretty smart because, you know, they don't really have... I mean, I don't know why this is so this is so glitched. It's, you know, these guys will have like a minute before their cooldown. This is pretty smart to push this before going for something like mid boss because you know, they definitely want these waves pushed up for after they do mid boss. And honestly, the Haze can pretty much take mid boss on their own. Obviously the Abrams is going to come, he's going to start to rotate to mid as well. And their team is, you know, the enemy team is starting to respawn back in, but, you know, they just don't have enough time. They don't have enough time. And, they, you know, Haze's team also has the Abrams ult, and he's going to use that ult just to make sure that they get that rejuve buff, and they do manage to secure it. And now, because they pushed up those waves, they can just really make a big offensive push into the enemy base. Picks up burst fire as well, and he's just doing an absolutely insane amount of damage to that Kelvin. Oh my god, that Kelvin is getting shredded. And an interesting choice to farm here. He clearly wants to buy some sort of item. And while he's farming, I mean, let's just take a look at some of the items that the enemy team has bought. You know, they pretty much all got metal skin, return fire. I mean, you look at all of them. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't, to be fair. But you see metal skin, you know. I think they do end up buying, I think pretty much all of them do end up buying either metal skin or return fire. Sorry, there's just a massive team fight going on right now. Kind of crazy. Yeah, he should go back a little bit, play behind his team. Probably try and play behind that Abrams, really. I mean, Abrams is just a full tank at this point. If we just look at his toolkit, he's just... Yeah, he's fully gone into like a tank. He's got Colossus, Life Strike. Really just a tanky role right now. Haze is actually getting pretty low, but he's going to use that life steal that he's got to try and regain some of that health. A little bit unfortunate tracking there by the Haze. Didn't get as much life steal as he would have wanted. And the Haze is going to be forced to back off. But if you do look at the enemy team's toolkits, pretty much all of them have bought some sort of counter to... I mean, that wasn't very good enough. But basically, pretty much all of them had bought some sort of counter to the Haze. And a lot of people will say that's why Haze isn't really a good character to play, and she kind of doesn't really work at higher MMRs. But to me, honestly, I don't fully agree, because at the end of the day, metal skin, for example, is a 3,000 cost item. And we're going to see the Haze run this soul down as well, just to further their lead. But again, back to the point. Metal skin is a 3,000 cost item, so do that across the team. 3 times 6, 18k. You're taking up almost 20k worth of economy for them to have a way to counter you. And at the end of the day, that's, you know, if we look at how long metal skin lasts, it's accounted for what, like 3.5 seconds. Haze can just engage, they all pop metal skin, and then she can just back off. And then there's 30 seconds where they don't have any counter to her. So yes, it is a hard counter to Haze, but Haze is still a very useful character, because even if they do decide to just all spec into countering her and just completely shut her out of the game, it leaves opportunity for her teammates to really get in the game. So even though the individual performance of the Haze might not always be the best, it will have a positive impact on the team as a whole. But obviously, what's more common to happen is kind of what's happening here, where like most of them are buying metal skin, and you know, a lot of them aren't. And in that case, you kind of just have to be a bit more selective with who you pick and fight. And he's this player is most undoubtedly looking at who's bought metal skin, who's bought return fire, trying to pick and choose his fights. You know, he's been very smart with the fights that he has picked. And again, if we just look at the map, you can see they're very much playing together. You see, like, the Haze is lurking, Mo and Crew is kind of lurking, kind of pushing up a little bit far forward. But you can see, like, they've got a lot of players grouped up together. I mean, kind of similar to what Blue is doing as well. They've got Lurker here, 3 players here, Lurker. But even though the Haze's team is up 20k souls, it's a lot closer than you would think. So they don't just want to get into any engagement they can. They really want to pick and choose their team fight and make sure that this last team fight is a good one, because this last team fight is probably going to be what decides the game. You can see Sapphire is really like grouped up. They really want a good team fight here. They want to back up, play defensively, play behind their base, and try and lure them into almost a trap, really. Amber isn't really falling for it. They're just kind of pushing their lanes, playing a little far back. This looks like it's going to be a little skirmish here. 3v3. Mirage is on the edge as well. He's probably going to engage. And Haze is now going to join in as well. Manages to get the knockdown on the pocket dash. He doesn't go through, but gets cancelled by his Enchanter's Satchel. He's absolutely shredding that Grey talent. Unfortunately, he gets cubed and manages to get away. And yeah, they're really just trying to poke at them. They don't want to engage too heavily. They don't want to overcommit. Yeah, the Viscous got caught very much out of position. Way too far forward. And now the Pocket. And they're all really pushing hard. But I don't really feel like it's going to pay off for them. And, you know, actually, I was proved completely wrong. It pays off amazingly for him. And this Haze is pretty much almost certainly dead. There's nothing they're going to be able to do here. And yeah, they're going to go for mid-boss again. Yeah, so let's go back and look at what happened in that team fight, why they lost. Because honestly, from watching that to start with, it honestly looked advantageous for the Amber team, honestly. So let's look at what happens. So the Kelvin pops his ult, and they're going to just focus on this Ivy, and they're probably going to kill that Ivy. Ivy was definitely pushed up way too far forward, and now this Abrams is also almost certainly going to get caught out and killed here. He's just pushed up way too far. His teammates just sat back here while he's just there. And yeah, I guess they played this just quite well. They just played behind their base. They're actually not going to focus on the Abrams. See, this definitely was a mistake by the Viscous. He goes into his bull rolling mode, and he tries to go super aggressive, tries to stun a bunch of them. He manages to get one stun off on the Paradox, but you see now he's gonna get caught out there, at which point I really thought that, you know, Amber might have had a decent chance of beating them, but unfortunately they are just gonna get picked off one by one. And yeah, I mean, now it's literally a 3v5. I mean, there's nothing they can really do. You know, they're getting chased by the entire team. Mo and Crow just trying to pick at that Mirage, but there's just nothing they can do, really. Yeah, I think really what happened here was they just played better as a team. They picked them off one by one better. They really just picked their fights better in that team fight. They just focused together on targets. Couple mistakes, obviously, like the Viscous overcommitting. Could have been better, but as a whole, that team fight was very well played by Sapphire. And we also see that the Haze had picked up Soul Rebuff, which is actually going to be a really good item on Haze, especially considering a lot of them have bought stuff like Metal Skin. Because, for example, like, they could all pop Metal Skin, kill the Haze, and then the Haze Soul Rebuffs. Now the Metal Skin's gone, and she can just ult, get a bunch of fixation, ult, and then kill them all, basically. I mean, that's the hope, anyway. Unfortunately, they are going to manage to pick up mid-boss and get the Rejuvenator buff, and the Haze is going to have to play pretty defensively here. Pretty much all on his own. Now the Ivy's there to help, but, you know, at the end of the day, there's not much you can do here. You just have to wait out that Rejuvenator buff. And, you know, as we said, like, there were 20k souls up, but, you know, Sapphire have brought it back. We literally just one team fight, one good team fight. They brought it back, and, you know, it's anyone's game at this point now, you know? If anything, the Sapphire team have the advantage here. They have Rejuve buff, you know. Unfortunately, they're not going to be able to get the full effect of the Rejuve buff just because the Amber team did do a good job of pushing up the waves. And you can see Sapphire are grouped up here. They're really looking for another engage. After the last one, I don't really blame them too much. Really good movement tech by the Haze there to get up onto this roof. She's going to smoke bomb, try and look for any picks that she can get. And she is going to manage to find that great talent. She gets the knockdown on him. I mean, sorry, she doesn't have knockdown, but someone got the knockdown on him. And we're actually just going to watch this team fight from a different perspective, just to give a better example of what's actually happening here. Just because it can get a little bit confusing. The Kelvin is going to go down. And they are having to play it. They are doing a really good job of pushing them back, especially since they've got Rejuve. And sorry, actually, Kelvin doesn't go down. He's got Soul Rebuff, so he's actually going to manage the Soul Rebuff and get back in the fight. And now this really could go anyone's way. I mean, this is just such a chaotic battle right now. And this is pretty much going to decide the fate of the game right here. The Pocket manages to go crazy on the Abrams. Manages to get a kill there. And they are going to be forced to head back to their base. Kelvin's Ice Blast, slowing them. Letting the Viscous get a bit of damage on them. And yeah, they've definitely been forced to go back into their own base. Now they're going to be able to push very hard onto the base. And the game honestly looks pretty bleak right now for Amber as the Sapphire team sort of push into their base. Pocket trying to go in. Haze manages to sleep dagger. That ult by the Pocket was pretty much useless. Doesn't matter though, as he does manage to get out anyway. Now the Rejuve buff has actually run out, so Amber can be a bit more aggressive. They managed to get a really good engage on the Kelvin, managed to take him out of the fight finally. And now that is a huge support gone. And their team is a lot, the Sapphire team is definitely a lot weaker for it. I'm going to go back on the Haze here. And the Haze is definitely thinking of trying to get as much fixation on them as possible and try and ult. He's absolutely beaming that person. Can't even tell who that is. And they do manage to make them back off. Are buying soul rebuff. I mean, this is literally 4 people in this lobby who are buying soul rebuff. Because late game, it's just so important to be alive and help out your team. I mean, just one... We've literally seen one team fight can swing how the game is going so quickly. And it can almost feel like you're just farming the entire game for just one big team fight, and then whoever wins those team fights wins the game. So obviously this VOD was before the patch where they removed soul rebuff. Really good kill on the beginners there. They managed to solo him out and kill him. I mean, that McGinnis was definitely very much out of position, really far up, and it allows the Haze's team to just go in and absolutely single her out. And they decide they want to go mid now. They have got Abrams' ult. This is pretty ballsy. I feel like this is a pretty, like, or not risky play, but I mean, it's pretty, well, it's not a risky play at all. It's a pretty smart play. They forced the Sapphire team to back off, and it's allowed them to get the mid boss. And, you know, with Haze, with her fully online right now, she can pretty much just shred that boss so quickly. And this is kind of interesting. He's actually, I didn't notice this, but he imbued his 2 with quick silver reload instead of his 1, which is something I don't usually see. They managed to kill that Viscous. Ooh, that Grey Talon is doing insane damage on the Haze. He should be okay because he's got that soul rebuff. He's going to be able to respawn pretty quickly here. Yep, nice. And you can see just how important soul rebuff is, especially on a squishy character like Haze, where, you know, it's pretty easy just to die like that. And, you know, they wouldn't have been able to get all this damage off. Even though you've got rejuve and you've got fast cooldown on the respawn, but it's still just so important to keep up that pressure. He just waits for that Mirage to spawn in there and just manages to get the kill there. Insane Sleep Dagger. Whoa, it looks like they're phasing through the wall there. I don't know what the hell happened with the replay there. I imagine it was just a glitch, but now he's ulting and... yeah, just insane. He's doing just insane damage. Absolutely insane. Gets the pocket, gets the Grey Talon, and then they manage to finish off the Patreon. And yeah, absolutely well-deserved victory there. A very entertaining back and forth game. Really well played by the Haze. Really well played by both teams, honestly.